like Kang, and I was like Donkey Kong? What the fuck?
Kong is king.
I like how you're already typing in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Sorry. Matt's fucking, just like the episode, Matt's checked out.
I'm ready to move on. Have you ever ridden on like the back of a pickup truck?
Yeah, a long time ago, back when it wasn't really a big deal. Now it's like I feel like
people just threw their kids in the trunk.
Yeah.
Or not the trunk, but the back of the...
And it's also like AVG uncovered that one too.
Did you ever play that game? The Roger Rabbit one?
I think I might have rented it, but it was like one of those deals where like you rent it and you find out within the first 5 seconds you're fucked. Like...
Yeah, because it's 6 o'clock on a Christmas morning.
6 o'clock on a Christmas morning. It is 6 p.m. on a Saturday
on Christmas
evening.
Eve.
What do you know, bro? So this is Buddy Shotz, not the Matt and Mike podcast experience. What's the difference? Nothing. Actually, the difference is this is video and that was just audio. You get both. So this is episode 62. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, nominated by our friend Nate, and Kung Fu that I picked for Weird Watches. And how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I don't know. We'll see how long I wear this for. This is like turning out to be an abortion already. It's too hot for TV. It's too hot to handle.
Too hot for DVD.
It's like they play like the steel drums. It's like, this footage is too hot for TV. It's like, okay, the internet exists. Anyway, getting rid of that already because the lighting on my face is horrible. And I just want everyone to see my face because I'm so vain. What do you think the frame up looks like? It looks good?
Pretty much perfect.
Yeah. Because it's got us.
The lighting needs some work. It's all top lighting.
Sorry. I'll have to bring in some boom lights or whatever. Boom lights. Right? Some lights. So, yeah. Should we get into it here?
Yeah.
Or do you have anything else to say before we get into our first
How are you feeling after you've been drinking scotch all day?
I'm like... Because that's what people do when they drink scotch.
You're like Bob Hoskins. You have a drinking problem.
I'm like... It's like when he does that in the movies, like...
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Oh, he's thirsty.
It's actually sweet tea to ruin the illusion. But I don't think anybody thought I was actually drinking straight up
You never
scotch. It's like sweet as hell, right? I'm like...
I'm messed up.
Maybe I'd rather be drinking scotch. Scotch tape. Makes sense. So, let's save this podcast and go on to our first segment.
Yeah.
That we like to call... Wait. Is the news that is only for nerds. That's not only
not
for
just nerds.
Nerds. NYRDs. NYRDs. Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right.
Show me what you're working with.
Well, I've got some nerd news. That's pretty cool because one of my favorite directors, John Woo, is back in action.
Right on my...
He's making a new action movie called Silent Night.
Deadly Night.
But the gimmick is it's going to be a silent movie.
The gimmick. It'll be like that one movie. What was the movie where like it was like a horror movie where like you don't make sounds or like the monsters will come and get you? Like I can't remember what it's called. But
A Quiet Place.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Wu intends to revolutionize action cinema once more by excluding all dialogue from the feature. That way the audience can focus entirely on the action of the big screen. What do you think about that?
I don't know.
I'm like, nice experiment. We'll see if it passes or fails.
So I guess for people that don't know really much about John Woo, what has he done before? Explain to the audience.
So he directed some legendary action movies in Hong Kong in the 80s and 90s before Coming to America. to direct a few classics, and then eventually his career in America kind of wound down and he went back to making Hong Kong movies. But he directed classics such as Face Off and Hard Target, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme as Chance Boudreaux. Why is his name Chance?
What else did he direct?
Hard Boiled and The Killer.
His mom took a chance on him?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most people know him from Hard Boiled for sure.
The greatest action movie ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
I guess.
I'm excited. We'll see.
I've seen Hard Boiled like a couple times. And it's definitely like more watchable than most action films. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Trying to think if
he also made Broken Arrow. Remember we watched that with Travolta?
I kept falling asleep when I was watching that, but I think I was just really tired.
It has a great ending though.
It does. I don't think it was the movie's fault. I think that day I was just like really tired from work, and I just like kept being like, and like I remember waking up at the end of the film. It's like the fucking missile blows a dude up. He's like, it's like cool. Anyway, yeah, it's like Travolta.
He gets hit in the stomach with a missile, and he's like halved, and he like gets blown back.
It's like,
it's like, ooh,
who is it? It's like Christian Slater, and like Christian Slater in every single movie he's in is like perpetually like smiling. It's like okay, yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I guess I never really thought about the whole like, you know, them being like doing a silent kind of deal, but. It's kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll probably fail. People like their dialogue.
Yeah, I mean...
People like to be told as opposed to seeing for themselves.
Action films usually don't have much to them, so for me, it's like, I guess it really depends on what it is, but the more I think about an action film that has, like, no dialogue, the more I think of it literally just being like one long action scene.
That's like your nightmare.
Which could be. But I don't know. John Woo's made a lot of good films, so it's not like this is just some random dude out there making, trying some shit out. So.
Yeah.
I think he's earned the, whatever to try whatever he wants.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I see that he's making a new movie, I say, John, woo! Because I'm that excited.
Because you're being tortured. Yeah. Was there ever talks of a hard-boiled sequel at all, or?
I don't think so.
Or anything like that, or yeah.
But I mean, a lot of his top action movies in Hong Kong all starred Chow Yun-fat.
Essentially, that kind of
so
shit.
they're very similar. It's
like the like Man with No Name trilogy, where it's essentially not the same guy, but it kind of is, or it's like okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even know if I want to talk about these other ones. It's like,
heavy sigh. That's never a good sign.
It isn't. It's like, do I even want to open my mouth to talk about some of these?
Be careful with your choices. I'm like, make a selection.
I know you're making me mad. I'm like, I'm horny as hell because of your inaction. It's like, what? I'll just go through the ones I want to talk about that I like the most here. So, like, I guess they're making a sequel to The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and they released, like, a picture of the script and a picture of him reading the script. But, like, the title for it is... I'm probably going to fuck this up, but it's called Folie à Deux. So, I guess it translates as shared madness. In a layman's term for shared delusional disorder. So, that... I don't know if the Joker really needed a sequel, but if they were going to make a sequel to one of the many, many things, I'd rather it be something like that than something like Morbius. Or, something like that.
It's Morbin time.
Well, yeah, where, like, Joaquin Phoenix is,
So I think, like, Joker...
The Joker!
Joker
Joker
Strikes Again. That movie, like, spawned a, like, fan base that I think some people aren't cool in that fan base, but like the movie itself, I thought was pretty good, with the exception of
good.
Pretty good. With the exception of Robert De Niro, who was very miscast in that movie and really bad, which for the first time ever. But I thought that movie was like really good.
I think he just kind of was like, didn't. To me, it felt like he was just playing like fucking the dude from like what was it? Meet the Fockers or whatever, Meet the Parents, where he's just like a stern asshole, and it's like, okay, whatever. Yeah, it was kind of he didn't really have much to do in that film anyway, except for, be a...
Get his head blown off.
Be a night host, which it's weird because if he's supposed to be like
a night host. He's a night host.
A talk show host. Like, those guys are usually supposed to be like pretty nice, and he was kind of like an asshole. So it was like, I would expect him to be like the host of like something like a O'Reilly kind of thing, like an asshole to his guests if they don't agree with him. He's
like, O'Reilly,
auto parts, wow.
The finest moment.
Yeah, but he plays this guy that's like he's like more like Bill O'Reilly or like Hannity and Combs, when he should have been playing like a Conan O'Brien or a Leno, where he's like a nice guy. Like, who the fuck would ever watch a late night talk show where the host is a complete asshole? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And totally boring.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, right, yeah, I agree. It's funny.
For a movie that made that much money, it would take like a miracle for it not to have a sequel. Like,
yeah. I mean, there have been movies that have done that before, where like they made a shit ton of money, but the people were just like, I was actually kind of shocked that they were doing a sequel, because Joaquin Phoenix is usually like pretty like one and done for certain things. It seems like, you know what I mean? Because he's kind of like, I would say he's more like prestigious, when it comes to that. But I think also he's also like, maybe he liked the character, so he's like, I'll do it.
It did get him Oscar gold.
Yeah. Yeah, what's with that? I guess people were getting Oscars for playing the Joker. That's maybe why. Well, not everybody. Jared Leto played the Joker, and he didn't get a fucking Oscar. But like Heath Ledger, because that also brought out a bunch of other people, I feel like, that were like obsessed with Heath Ledger Joker, and it was like, okay, dude, like you said, those kinds of fans that were just like, dude, you're annoying.
Yeah, I just try to ignore that crap and focus on the movie, which...
But like you said, because like the people that brought out, with his version is the same thing with Heath Ledger. It's the same thing. It's like... yeah. So anyway, I guess they had Ghostbusters Day on June 8th, and since the Ghostbusters Afterlife actually made a fuck ton of money, Dan Aykroyd was pleased as punch, because all this shit that they're talking about doing is probably actually going to happen, like, unlike back in the day when he was like, there's going to be all these Ghostbusters projects, and like none of them happened. I guess so. There's 3 that have been announced. Ghostbusters animated series, developed by Netflix with Jason Reitman and Gil Kenan. So, and then a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife has been officially announced, called Firehouse, and I guess it's going to take place in New York and stuff. And then there's going to be a Sony Pictures animated Ghostbusters featured film in development. So what do you think about all that Ghostbusters shit?
I'm going to be skipping it, sadly.
Yeah. You're not a fan of Ghostbusters, are you?
I'm a fan of the first movie.
Yeah.
Because it was a hilarious comedy. But I think, see our previous episode on Ghostbusters, Afterlife?
Yeah.
We pretty much ripped it apart, for the most part.
Yeah. My biggest issue was that they didn't have enough of it set in the actual New York, and I was like, enough of it, any of it.
My biggest problem is like,
you didn't like Ghostbusters 2?
Not really.
Jesus Christ.
But I mean, compared to Afterlife, it's like freaking Citizen Kane. I wish like they'd get away from making them comedies, and I'm like, why? That was the whole appeal of the first one. It was hilarious. So, whatever. It's all just generic, like, made for, I think I said, made for babies in our previous episode, so.
Matt hates Ghostbusters, confirmed. So, what about Weird Watches? Are you ready to talk about that? Unless you have anything else to talk about?
Nope. Oh, I do have a recommendation, Nation.
Oh, shit. Give me a second here.
Or as I like to call it.
Wait a minute. Wait till I get to the thing.
Recommendation Nation!
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
What do you recommend? You're like Ghostbusters 2.
Ghostbusters Afterlife. I loved it.
You're like, I was swerving Mike this whole time.
Top Gun Maverick. It was awesome. Loved it. So
There you have it.
go see Top Gun Maverick. It's probably the sequel that's like the most better than the original ever. Because the original's kind of a lame movie.
Mm-hmm.
Never been one of my favorites. But the sequel, like, they fixed all the stuff about the first one. And it's great.
I've never seen the first one.
You're not missing much. I mean, it's... You know, Maverick and Goose are like part of pop culture and everything, but the movie's pretty boring.
So who are those people? It's Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, I guess?
His wingman, Goose.
Okay.
Val Kilmer's the Iceman.
Okay.
But the first movie, it's all training.
Okay.
And then there's like a dogfight kind of tacked on the end, but this movie, like, they actually do a mission, which is really cool. And it's got lots of really cool dudes flying planes. For real.
How's it compared to Iron Eagle?
Well, it doesn't have Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah.
What was his name in that movie? Oh, I have to look it up. But Iron Eagle was pretty fun.
Iron Eagle compared to Top Gun 1.
It's better. It's more entertaining.
Iron Eagle is?
Yep. See our previous episode on Iron Eagle. Chappie.
Yeah.
Louis Gossett Jr. is Chappie.
Asshole's
a great character.
Asshole's Chappie. I still can't believe that. Like, just watch the episode. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, so Matt recommends this film. Is this something? Where can people find this?
You can see it at your local theater.
You actually went to the theaters to watch this? Jesus Christ!
It's on IMAX.
Damn,
it was movie magic.
Well, Matt went to the theaters. Yeah. Weird watches. I don't have anything else to say about
this watch is going to be weird.
I don't have anything else to say about that, I guess. Other than that you went to the theater. Did you have any interesting experiences at the theater?
No, it was just fun to see a really good movie in the theater, which is rarer and rarer these days.
Especially because I can't remember the last time we actually went to a theater.
When we saw Pig, starring Nicolas Cage.
Was that before Ghostbusters or after?
No, I think Ghostbusters was after that. Yeah. Sad times.
Yeah. I generally don't like...
Are you excited about the new Ghostbusters stuff?
I don't know. I think that, like, I'm a big fan of, like, Ghostbusters in general, but as I watched, like, Ghostbusters Afterlife, there were, like, certain parts of it that were nice to see nostalgia-wise, but I don't think they were, like, great for the, you know, for just in general. I think that for, like, I like the idea of an animated show because I honestly like the animated series more than I liked the movies when I was a kid. Kind of like I liked Beetlejuice cartoon more than I liked the actual movie. But I think that was because it was more content. I like the idea of them doing like an animated movie for Ghostbusters, and like an animated, series. Afterlife, apparently everybody loved it. There were parts of it I liked, and I've always liked the second one because I like.
Your favorite part was that scene in Walmart, right? You're like, product placement. Ding,
ding,
ding.
Well, it sucks because, like, Paul Rudd, I like him a lot in, like, everything he's in, but I didn't think he was horrible in it. It was just kind of like he happened to be a character in a Ghostbusters movie. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
But yeah. Overall, yeah, I guess the short long. Too long, didn't read, I like Ghostbusters and I'll always, like, be a fan, but it's harder and harder to keep watching these things and being like, I guess, I don't know what the word is, like, not being embarrassed by it.
Kind of like Star Wars. Sense. You could have just said the exact same thing about Star Wars.
Except for I don't really care about Star Wars anymore. I actually care about Ghostbusters, and Star Wars at this point I'm, like, apathetic.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, I don't think they've made enough of it for me to not give a shit, but the problem is it's starting to get there. So even though those were cool things to hear about, it's like Ghostbusters 2016, Ghostbusters Afterlife. You know, it's like we need. I think Firehouse could be good if. That was the thing I think I was missing the most is like seeing them actually going out and answering calls from people and busting ghosts in a Ghostbusters film.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I guess yeah, whatever. So yeah, we are talking about a weird watch here. This, I guess, apparently I just talked about Ghostbusters for 50 years. Fucking Christ.
Do we need to restart? Just move on.
I don't even know if I have the energy in me to fucking give a shit at this point. So like about like anything, I'm just so apathetic. I'm a fucking crotchety piece of shit. So this week I picked Kung Fu. I fucked up. Kung Fu is supposed to be based on like the old David Carradine kind of deal from 1970s, but it's made by the CW, and they've renewed it for like 1,000 seasons, and it fucking sucks. Now I like so.
Well, we're not the target demographic for this. I bet there are plenty of like little kids who think the show's really good.
Well,
'cause it's made for them.
It's like it sucks because it's like you know. Okay, so I want to say this in a way that doesn't make it sound like I'm racist.
Please do.
Wait, please do make it sound like I'm racist. Because I was about to say it sucks. It sucks because it's like a predominantly Asian American cast. That's not what sucks about it. What sucks is they have a predominantly Asian American cast and they're completely fucking wasted on this show, in my opinion. Because I thought all these people were completely fine for the most part. There's a couple things that I don't think are great, but once again, this isn't like, you know, we were talking about Star Wars once again before fucking this started up, and we were talking about, you know, on the podcast, but we were talking about, hey, it's not the actor's fucking fault. It's just like the lame ass shit that they're saying, because it's like a job. If you fucking go to a job and your boss is like, do this, and you think it's a stupid idea, what are you gonna do? Tell him fuck off and not do it? He's paying you to do it, you know. So, my first note says, so I didn't know this was a CW show. This could be bad or good. I don't know why I put or good.
So when I was watching it, I was like, this feels like it should be like on CW or something. Yeah. And then it triggered in my mind, oh yeah, they showed the CW logo at the beginning. I was like, wait a minute.
You just blocked it out.
Yeah. It like went past me somehow.
Yeah, the problem is like, apparently like these first couple episodes, like from what I've read, were like completely shit. Because like apparently people were praising...
we saw it.
Yeah. Well, they were praising it for the action.
Okay.
When I was like, this action is filmed like fucking villainous style.
Yeah, it's not.
I just got good. Like flashbacks. There was one scene that wasn't like that, and I have a note about it. A note: Papa got an ass whooping.
They're gonna tear him a new ass.
Brother needs an ass beating and acting lessons. I don't know if that was fair, but I was just at this point I was pissed. But there's a note here I have essentially that says like there's 3 main fights in this. The first fight is shot like shit. The last fight is shot like shit, and then like she defends her friends and family from these like essentially Chinese mafia or whatever the hell they are with knives, and that one's actually shot somewhat competently because they show most of the fight. Mm-hmm. Whereas like all these other fights are like there's a billion cuts, which makes no sense because it looks like these people actually have the choreography down and they're doing the moves, so it's not like they're cutting around their inability to do shit. It's just like mind-boggling. It's like they're going to shots that don't need to be gone to. Like,
yeah, and I agree. Like you can tell that some of them are skilled in martial arts, but I found the action and fighting to be very slow.
Yeah,
like they're moving very. If you compare this to like the action in a Jackie Chan movie, there's like no comparison.
Well, it's also filmed completely different too. Like they have wide shots of showing off all the action, whereas like this, you know, you know, these people, even if they're talented, it doesn't matter because they're being fucking filmed.
Yep.
You know, at different angles, and they're being like completely. It's like the whole botch-tastic shit with Villainous, where it was like the fucking super close shots and all this other bullshit. It was like,
yeah, I don't want to dump on the show too much because like
don't dump on
it's fine.
Yeah,
it's super generic and like very soap opera feeling.
I didn't find it like offensive, but probably only because I have watched like almost every episode of The Flash, so it's kind of the same thing. But like, it's like that, like you said, it's that shit where it's like they have a thing where they're like, okay, well, we have, you know, we're making The Flash, you know, what comes first? Superheroes? No. You know, action? No. Story? No. Like the drama between characters comes first. Because it's like just an extension of when they used to make Smallville. Like, you know, it's like all we really care about is the drama relationships. Like, people are going to get pissed at each other, and a couple episodes later they'll be fine, and a wife and a husband will be pissed, and then they'll be fine.
That pretty much sums it up, because like this show is about like finding a magical sword of destiny and like people killing each other, but there's a scene where the mom and the daughter aren't getting along.
That takes a backseat. Right. That was actually my favorite part, when it was like you were learning about all this cool stuff and like the lore and crap, but then it was like you said, it
turns
was
into soap opera stuff.
Right. Like you said, it's not like, I don't know. I have notes on here that do piss me off when I think about it again, but it's not like, you know.
To be honest, I kind of zoned out after about the first half of it.
You're like the first 12 episodes. You watch the whole series.
Like, got my kung fu flag. Like, kung fu.
You're like waving the fucking Hinamaru over here. I did have some funny things here. She was her, I guess Sifu is like a master. Mm-hmm. It's like that's another word for a master. Mm-hmm. But she was stabbed in the heart, and she says, "I have to get you to a hospital." I'm like, impossible. Like, even if that was possible, you're like in a secluded mountain training. They're like in Shangri-La essentially, up on a mountain.
You're done, son.
And she's like, I got to get you to a hospital. I'm like, how close are you to even a hospital to begin with? Like, let alone somebody that was stabbed in the heart by a magical sword. I had a note here. It says, had to go home from China to Canada. Oh, I mean San Francisco, because they show the San Francisco Bridge, but all these CW shows are shot in, like, Langley, British Columbia, because, of course, it's cheaper and stuff. And, like, there's certain places that look similar to San Francisco because of, like, you know, the topography and crap, so they're able to get away with it. But, like, it's funny because the houses that they shoot in and stuff like that, they almost all look like the same kind of houses you see on, like, The Flash or, like, all these other shows. So it's like, okay. I'm sure they have, like, a block of houses they bought to use.
I thought you were going to say Kenny versus Spenny.
I also felt like I missed an episode because when they get into the intro of backstory, they just kind of like cut into some shit, and I'm like, okay, like, not like at the end of the day it really matters. We're not going to be watching any more of this shit. I'm just trying to see. There's shots of Mahjong. There was this thing where this old lady says, "Don't waste time. He won't be golden forever." I was like, I don't know what that means. On the show, the brother is gay. He, I guess, has come out to the parents, and they denied it. So it was definitely CW style, which was completely fine. But it was kind of like just. I feel like that's also something that they do, is they have like a checklist of like we want to, you know, do on this show.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's anything else on here that I want to talk about, honestly.
You were right about one thing. The watch was weird.
I knew you were going to say that.
This is probably the least weird watch. It's just like, it's just generic and kind of there.
This was like if I was like, let's watch an episode of All My Children.
Right.
Actually, that would be weirder because they've had people like fucking like have amnesia on that show. I'm just like looking to see if there's anything here even worth talking about. Oh yeah, the bad guy in this is called Tony Kong, and I was like, what? Like Kang, but I thought for the longest time his name was like Tony Khan, and then randomly somebody says Kong, like Kang, and I was like Donkey Kong? What the fuck?
Kong is king.
I like how you're already typing in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Sorry. Matt's fucking, just like the episode, Matt's checked out.
I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say here. This one,
Kong, the King of Kings.
my last fucking note, get all weapons, and it's on. That's how lazy I was.
Get all weapons, and it's on.
And then I just have, won't be watching it.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up.
So, I fucked up, as usual. This was a weird watch I thought was going to be good. Or at least
Have you ever
interesting.
seen the original Kung Fu?
No.
David Carradine?
Well,
why didn't you pick that? Just kidding.
I'm not a huge fan of David Carradine, honestly.
I've never seen that show either.
It just was kind of lame.
They racistly wouldn't let Bruce Lee star in it. So.
Yeah. Well, I honestly picked this mainly because I was like, this will be interesting because like the cover was like this lady that was like cast for her like Asian heritage doing some like cool moves. Well, I don't know how else to say it. I guess like that she was, some Asian lady, and it looked cool. And I was like, okay. I didn't see any CW shit on there, and I was like, cool. This might be pretty badass. And I saw that it had like 3 seasons, and I was like, okay, this must be good. And I was wrong, but it wasn't horrible. It was just like you said, middle of the road.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to be moving on to our feature presentation here that was picked by our friend Nate. That I'm glad I watched this last. This was like a breath of fresh air. So
I watched Obi-Wan after this and got my soul crushed.
Yeah, I did that same thing. I fucked up. Remember that? Because I was like, I started it up and it was just like it gave me an error after a little bit. That was like something went wrong.
You should have just called it a day at that point.
I haven't. I
good.
started it up
Good.
again. Yeah.
You're smart.
But it sucks because the only reason I think anybody's watching this show is for Ewan McGregor because he's such a cool fucking guy. But anyway, yeah.
It's like when you see like your best friend getting like lured onto the wrong side of the tracks and like falling in with the wrong crowd and like doing drugs and stuff. That's kind of like what watching this show is like. It's like, no, Ewan, what have they done to you?
All those times,
my sweet prince.
All those times that I tried to stop you from being lured away from me. I was like, Matt, the buddy shots need you, and like some fucking drug dealer was like, and you were like floating through the air, like a cartoon that smells like a pie. And you're like, like I can't wait to.
The smoke is like,
yeah.
I'm like,
you're like drug addiction. It's fucking intoxicating. I don't give a shit if I get the dry boats. It's like, what? So
he slumped me.
I've been turned too slow. You've been turned too slow. Okay, so Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out in 1988. American live-action animated comedy mystery film noir directed by Robert Zemeckis, produced by Frank Marshall and Robert Watts, and loosely it's a loose adaptation of a novel called Who Censored Roger Rabbit. The film stars Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, Charles Fleischer, Stubby Kaye, and Joanna Cassidy, as well as a bunch of other voice actors, and I think people that have done all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's set in 1947 version of Hollywood, where cartoon characters and people coexist. The film follows Eddie Valiant, a private investigator who must exonerate Roger Rabbit. A toon has been framed for the murder of the Acme Corporation's owner. So, yeah. Here's... I wrote this down. It says, on Disney Plus, the synopsis for this reads, a juicy mystery filled with loony.
Juicy?
Fun pairs.
Is juicy.
Fun pairs. A toon-hating detective with a cartoon rabbit. A juicy mystery. So when did you first watch this film?
I'm glad you asked. Because
I didn't.
I've never seen it. I refuse.
I refuse. I would choke you.
You're like, you're dead. I saw this movie in theaters, and it was the first movie I ever saw in theaters.
Hell yeah.
In 1988. I was 5 years old.
You were like,
Mama.
Dada, mama. And they were like, Matt.
And it was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it still is.
Can you open that? I don't have any nails. Matt's got to be my bro. He opened my Walmart. Yeah. I didn't know what you were gonna say about this because it has cartoons in it, but
and I hate all cartoons. Is that what you're implying?
No, well, I don't think so.
I'm just not as big of an animation fan as you are. But.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there have been things before, I think, in the past that I thought that like your revelation that you were like hated Space Jam. I was still kind of shocked about that, so I was like, oh, he's gonna hate this fucking film.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! It's gonna wash right off. Makes no sense.
You dip your fucking brush in the ink well. You're gonna fucking get ready to paint right now.
You dip your toon in the dip, it's gonna die right off. That scarred me for life.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember the first time I watched this, but it was like a long ass time ago. We own this, like, definitely, we owned it on VHS, DVD, and then I got it again on Blu-ray, and now I watched this version on Disney Plus, and I don't think this film was ever meant to be watched in such high quality because there are scenes that, like, you can see some of the stuff, you can see through Eddie Valiant in Toontown at one point because of the effects, but it's more so like, holy shit, I can't believe that this film was ever made to look this good. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely like a long time ago. I mean, I remember we used to watch this and like Back to the Future and stuff like that because it's kind of like something my parents, were big into and stuff. Was like
they're big Zemeckis heads.
I think it happened to be like that because it was like the films all have like like Back to the Future gets like such huge praise and stuff, like Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. Maybe not all of them as much, but they get high praise, and it's like I feel like this one's just as good as Back to the Future for sure. But I think that was something we all kind of watched, so it was like definitely interesting because they also have like the same people doing the score, like Alan Silvestri, which also did like the score for Super Mario Brothers movie. And
I'm actually gonna bring that up.
Another Bob Hoskins feature, where funnily enough he drinks a lot in this film, fake drinks, but he for real drank on the set of Super Mario Brothers movie because he hated it so much.
I'm sure we'll talk about Bob Hoskins, but like I'll bring up Super Mario Brothers because I probably told this before, but like. Our friend Ryan, his dad took us to see Super Mario Brothers in theaters back when it came out, and I think we all were like, this was not great. Yeah. And after the movie, he was driving us home, and he's like, "You little kids screwed up by watching Super Mario Brothers," because he went and saw Cliffhanger at the same time, and he was like, "It was so awesome." Yeah. And he told us all about it, and I was like, "Damn, I wish we would have seen Cliffhanger instead."
Yeah. Because you could never see it. Yeah. Yeah, who would have known though? Yep.
You screwed up.
I think that'll be another one we'll eventually watch. We'll probably.
I'd like to see it again because I haven't seen it in
Brothers
forever.
movie and Cliffhanger at some point. I'm sure.
There's like a legendary director's cut out there, isn't there?
Of Super Mario Brothers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's one like that for Super Mario Brothers movie, and then for the first Turtles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the first Turtles has like a Blu-ray that only came out in Germany. That
I'd like to see those.
Yeah, so that has like some interesting deleted scenes and other stuff. So and commentary. So we'll definitely get around to both of those at some point on the podcast because that's just how it is.
That's just the way it is.
Things will never be the same. It's like what? So toons, just like live action people, have jobs. So I thought, That's pretty... I don't know. I think I wrote that right before I went to bed one night, so I don't know what the fuck that was supposed to be.
You're like, toons, just like real people, have jobs.
And then I was like, wake up, had no fucking clue what I was talking about.
Blow out your candle.
Blow out my own ring. So Alan Anthony Silvestri, who's an American composer, did... he's been associated with, like, Zemeckis since 1984, and he did, like... the music for all of his feature films, like Back to the Future film series, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump, Castaway, Polar Express, and most notably, the Super Mario Brothers movie. I wrote that on. Obviously, that was not even on IMDb. I always thought, like, the intro was really cool, even as,
That's
like...
my favorite part.
Yeah, even when I was, like, younger, because this could have been something that, like... older people would have been like, this is lame, you know what I mean, because it's a cartoon, but it's done in such like a cool like Looney Tunes Merry Melody kind of style where it's like goofy and like just like one thing happens after another while like serendipitously like the baby is like, and it kind of reminds me of like Baby's Day Out or whatever.
It's hilarious, but also like that animation is some of the best I've ever seen. Like it just looks so awesome.
Well, it's like, that's something else, too, is like, we always harp on this, and it's like broken record style, but it's like, this movie came out in fucking 1988, and like, the effects and all the shit that happens, like the interactions between live action and the cartoons is like, still holds up, and then like a movie that came out like this year can look like shit.
It's because they put in the time and effort.
Yeah.
Like, the animation took, I think, over a year.
Yeah, and
it's like so polished.
Yeah.
And like perfect.
I think this movie was, like, at the time, the most expensive movie.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, ever made. Because of, like you were saying, like, the animation, and then...
Yeah, like,
they
now,
had to do the
now with
effects.
CGI, you can just crap out, you know, whatever the algorithm...
Crap it out! Make it happen!
Not really. I know it takes, like...
Right. No, I know what
to
you
work
mean.
on it, but it's just not the same.
But instead of having, like, a mechanism that, like, splashes water from the sink, like... in real life, they would just have like the cartoon do it, and then they would do like they would animate like CGI kind of realistic looking water onto like Eddie Valiant's face. So
or when the cartoons are carrying around real guns, they were like puppeteered.
Yeah, they were like on strings and shit. Instead of like now it would just be those would be fake guns.
Yeah. But
anyway, this movie starts off in 1947. This is honestly, I mean, we've watched a couple noir films on this podcast before, and I'm a big fan. And this is probably always going to be my favorite noir film of all time because it's a send up to. It brings in like the best parts of noir, the best parts of like cartoons. It brings in the best parts of all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's a Zemeckis film through and through. The soundtrack is great, so it's like...
Yeah, it's awesome. Some similar... I think it had a lot of inspiration from Chinatown.
Yeah.
So did you appreciate it more after seeing Chinatown?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, that, and I mean, obviously all the other ones we watched, like Maltese Falcon, and then what was the other one we watched with... or no, Chinatown was the other one I think we watched, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we've... Because the other one was like a Tale of Two Jakes or whatever that he did.
Yeah, the Two Jakes.
Two Jakes!
Which I've never seen.
Yeah, I was thinking about nominating that at some point, but we'll see. I kind of want to see it just because there's so many people say that it's way worse.
Yeah.
But
I think it was a big bomb.
That's also subjective, so I guess we'll see.
Yep. Forget it, Jake.
Forget the fucking Jake! So I've actually got quite a few notes for like things that like I never noticed the first time because I've seen this.
Well, this is one of those movies you can watch over and over again and see. There's so much detail, like you'll see new stuff every time.
Yeah, I've seen this movie so much that I was actually surprised that I noticed some new stuff.
Nice.
But like the posters on the wall in R.K. Maroon's office, there's a couple here that I just never. That's the thing is when I'm doing the podcast now, I look for stuff to write down. And I guess before I was just watching the film. So we've got a World War II Nazi-inspired cartoon called Herman Sherman starring Roger Rabbit looking like Hitler.
I didn't know.
And baby Herman is like chasing him in a tank.
That sounds awesome.
Then there's another one starring I think one called Pistol Packing possum. And then there's one that says The Little Engine That Could, starring Roger Rabbit and Baby Herman, with Roger. He's like tied to a stake about to be burned by Baby Herman, who's like got a Native American headdress on. Those are the only ones that, you know, that I could see that were on the wall at least. So, and
that's cool.
You talked about earlier when I was doing the whole shtick with like the drink here is like Eddie's a major alcoholic, and he like lips his lips. He lips his. He's
take two.
Yeah, he licks his lips in anticipation of possibly getting a drink at RK Maroon's when he's talking about he wants $100 for the job, and in like 2022 money for inflation, that would be like $1,296.45.
Ah.
So when he was like $100 and he was like freaking out, he was like, "That's actually, you know, I don't know, $1,296. I don't know how that really equates though to like if you're a private detective and you were like, I want to do this job, how much you would really charge, you know? Usually they charge by the hour, but I guess he was just straight up like, here's the whole fee."
Even before that though, when it transitions from like fully animated to that's like mind blowing. It's so amazing. Even watching it this time, I was like, like it's so cool the way
I thought I had a note for that, but I guess I never wrote one down, which is weird. Because that's like movie magic. Yeah, they go into the fridge that gets dropped on his head or whatever, and it's like if you can try to find where it happens, but it's like the inside of the fridge and the whole set is recreated in like real life, but it's cartoon looking. Yeah,
the way they like photograph it,
it
looks like a cartoon.
Like, the inside of the fridge is definitely like fake cartoony kind of looking, but it's like definitely, you know, like you were saying, it's like, okay, well they put in the time. They could have just been like, oh, it's a real fridge, but they like cartooned it up and it looks, it was definitely something they had to make.
I remember when that happened in theaters, like back in the day, everyone was, it was like a shock. Like people couldn't believe
people were
how cool
sucking
it was.
all the air out of the room.
It's like, I can't breathe. I got the dry bug. The smell was so intoxicating.
Then we've got a jump scare from Dumbo. He's on loan from Disney. That and half the cast of Fantasia. I'm like, okay. Like, who gives a fuck about Fantasia? I've never been a fan personally, but
yeah, me neither. It's good. It's good animation.
I think that's the thing. Is like some of those back in the day, it was like they didn't really have stories. They were just like, check it out, we animated something, and people were like, holy fuck. Which, you know, fair on you, I guess. So I didn't notice this before, but like I don't know if this was intentional, but like Eddie says to like RK Maroon that like, you've been hanging around rabbits too long, and when he smiles you can only see like his front two teeth, so it's like he's got like rabbit teeth, and I was like, I don't know if they did that on purpose to make it seem like he was like tee, you know, but
interesting.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it. What'd you think about Eddie getting cigarettes from kids?
Hilarious.
Yeah.
But I love the scene with like the two ducks playing like dueling pianos and stuff. Like this movie starts out so strong. It's like, it's just so cool. It's
that's actually part of a contractual agreement to have Disney and Warner Brothers character in the same movie. Is every time they had a Disney character on screen, they had to have a Warner Brothers character on screen for the exact same amount.
Interesting.
So that's why you saw like Donald Duck and Daffy Duck in the same scene. You see Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny in the same scene for the exact same amount of time, and at the end with Porky Pig and Tinkerbell, it's like, you know, which is completely fine. It doesn't seem forced or anything. It's kind of one of those things where once it happens once, you're kind of like expecting like, okay, when's Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny gonna show up? You know, they're like the big, you know, it'd be like Mario and Sonic showing up. It's like, okay, when are they gonna show up? Like, oh shit, I scrolled way too far up. I always thought that was really cool though in the movie, for whatever reason, when he gets on the back of the like car and rides, like just sitting on it, I was like, dude, that would be so cool to like sit on the back of a streetcar and ride on the outside like that.
Yep. Have you ever ridden on like the back of a pickup truck?
Yeah, a long time ago, back when it wasn't really a big deal. Now it's like I feel like
people just threw their kids in the trunk.
Yeah,
or not the trunk, but the back of the whatever.
Move on. The fucking truck. Give me a fucking mic. So we got this guy being an asshole to Eddie at the bar, like Biff style. He's like all sweaty like him too, and it's like he makes him eat the fucking egg. He's like, eat the fucking egg you were gonna eat anyway, you piece of shit. And I'm like, okay. That was something that like I always kind of forget about, but like is something that even when I was younger, like I kind of forgot about, is that like throughout the movie, like they don't hit you over the head with it, but like they talk about how like Eddie's brother is dead and like a toon killed him, and you're like, what the fuck? Of course, that comes into play later in the film, but like it's not like if that was a thing today, that would have been set up like, and it would have been set up so heavy-handedly that like you would have known who it was and all this other shit.
Yep.
Instantly.
Who's Eddie Valiant's parents? We need to know.
Mom and Papa Valiant. It's like it'd be like Eddie and whatever Luigi. It's like
the Valiant saga. You'd have a little kid show up. I'm a Valiant now.
It'd be like Eddie Valiant Jr. Eddie Valiant died, and this is his child, and
EVJ.
Yeah. Roger Rabbit and Jessica Rabbit raised him. Just Dolores died or something.
Did you read Ebert's review of this movie?
I completely forgot, because
what do you think
we haven't really done that in a while, have we?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Been a while. Did he say anything about the last movie we did, or?
No, he didn't review it.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Surprising.
Yeah, I know.
What did you say? What do I think he said about it? Honestly, with how good this movie is, and with it being noir and all this stuff, I would be shocked if he didn't give it high marks.
4 stars.
Yeah,
he loved it. I'll just read one thing. He said it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit is sheer enchanted entertainment from the first frame to the last. A joyous, giddy, goofy celebration of the kind of fun you can have with a movie camera.
It's giddy fun.
It's giddy.
Oh my!
And it's Diddy. Con racing.
Diddy fun.
Yeah, he loved it.
Nice.
He said it was mind blowing, and I mean it was, but at the time, it was so well done, and we hadn't really seen too much stuff like this before done that well.
Right. Or Sans. Or Sans. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of sad parts in this, like with where like this cartoon character Betty Boop shows up, and she's like not really being used anymore, so she has to like work as a waitress and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like she kind of is like talking to him, and it's like, you know, I still got her, right? And he's like, yeah, and it's like you can tell that it's like sad because she's never gonna be a star again. And yeah, we've got crows playing the jazz background in this song, and Jessica Rabbit sings, and I'm sure like a lot of people when they first saw Jessica Rabbit were like, I feel funny. Like when they were younger. Yeah. So that was definitely something that like
some people are still hung up on it to this day.
Called the Buddy Boys. The Buddy Shots podcast is all about Jessica Rabbit. Yeah. So what do you actually? I want to ask you a question. This doesn't have anything to do with like a question that's like, you know, what was your first cartoon crush or anything like that? But it's like, it's more so. Have you seen stuff where people were like obsessed with Jessica Rabbit and like Tinkerbell?
Not really, but I know that that's a thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Like, and I'm not like, I guess, shaming anybody that's like, if you're watching this and you're a fan of that, that's cool. But I always thought it was weird that people would take like a character like Jessica Rabbit or Tinkerbell or something, but like take that character and like make them look like goth, or you know what I mean? Like make them look like a different kind of character, like a punk. Like I don't know. I guess you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's probably been done with every animated character that's ever existed. I'm sure.
Yeah, like Jerky Dog. Yeah, he's a leather daddy.
Marge Simpson.
Yeah, Marge Simpson's a leather daddy. Homer Simpson's a leather mama. He's like, oh, donut. Homer Simpson. We'll have to review that at some point. The Simpsons movie. Actually, that's not. Yeah. So, we talked about this, I think, the other day, but I just want to talk about it here on the podcast. So, she goes through this whole, like, song and dance performance, and there's a part at the end where she, like, grabs Eddie's tie, and if you want to watch it yourself, it happens around, like, 20 minutes and 20 seconds into the film, and some random dude... is like it's like she sings and then it goes completely silent and some random dude in ADR is like, oh, and it's like, what? And that was something I had never noticed before.
I didn't notice it until you pointed it out.
I was like, what? We've got a legit steamy ass alley over here, so it's noir all the way.
Steamy alley.
Steamy ass alley. Roger drinks alcohol after being shown the pictures of his wife like playing patty cake, and he's like goes ape shit. So that's another thing
which will save him in the end.
Which comes to play later, but like it's something that like I feel like if that was in a movie today, that would be like completely explained. Like they would say, "Oh, toons, if they drink alcohol, they get nuts," and then like it's like okay, dude. Yeah, but it just is shown in this, and it's like...
Imagine that.
I know, right? Yeah. It's as good as when we fell into that nest of Gundars. It's always better to tell, not show, right?
Exactly.
Or like in Indiana Jones, where they're like, Indiana Jones here fucking went to World War II, and he's a fucking captain and a general, and he's a badass. He's like a demon slayer. But we're not watching that movie.
Indiana Jones personally killed Hitler.
It's like before or after he got his book signed by him. So I thought this is another sad part. He's like looking through the developed pictures that he took from when they went on their vacation years and years ago, and you see like his brother in there, and he's like, Bob Hoskins is like, this is why this guy was the shit. It's like. It just makes you, like, feel it, Mm-hmm. So good. So we've got some newspaper headlines here, because he does his thing, and then it kind of, like, pans over to his brother's side of the desk and kind of comes back around. And we've got Valiant and Valiant crack nephew kidnapping. Donald, Huey, Louie, and Dewey return. Goofy cleared of spy charges. Evidence of Valiant and Valiant decisive. New clowns on the beat, LAPD 1925 graduating class. So that's like not a news article, it's like just a picture. Which is weird because they have like, he's got like 3 pictures that are not only framed but engraved. And I'm like, how common is that back in the day, I wonder. Yeah. Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, Eddie and Teddy on the road with Dad, 1906. 2 flatfoots and a floozy go into business, 1938. And it's like they're all not only inscribed but dated. I'm like, but I guess what I'm getting at here is that like all that backstory was like told with just a couple minutes without having to do any sort of forced dialogue. It's literally they just like show you some shit, and it's like, I don't know,
quite refreshing.
Just like this water. Nice montage. Is it? Mm-hmm. Does it murder your thirst?
Yes.
Marvin Acme is killed though, Matt, because the rabbit cacked him last night. I'm like, what? Cacked him? That's what the guy says. The detective, his boss or something. He's like, yeah, the rabbit cacked him. I'm like, what?
You got cacked.
So what do you think about like the ties in this movie? They're like worn very weird, not weird, but different, and they're very like fat. They're not like skinnier ties. Like, I think it's like people that are all police or detectives.
It kind of reminded me of like Abbott and Costello. Like
like the ties. Like
Abbott wore
a very fat tie.
Costello wore those kind of ties. Yeah.
But like I actually looked into buying one of these like a while back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like Magnolia Clothier's Eddie Valiant tie, a vintage one. Like the style goes for like around $60.
It's pushing it.
Yeah, for a tie, but of course back then it was probably like 2 cents. Yeah. This line by a guy that looks like Eddie Roosevelt over here is like, "Didn't you used to be Eddie Valiant, or did you change your name to Jack Daniels?"
Boom.
He got his ass. So let's talk about Christopher Lloyd coming in here.
Yeah.
As Judge Doom. Another awesome performance. I would go so far to say I would say he's maybe stealing the show, but then again, there are so many great characters and actors in this. He's like one of many awesome people, but he's definitely like terrifying. Like
for sure. And it shows his range that he could go from Doc Brown to this.
Yeah.
It's like totally
Uncle
different
Fester.
characters.
I'm trying to think like has he been like a bad guy before besides this? It's kind of like Robin Williams when he was in that movie like where he developed the photos.
Yeah,
like,
1 hour photo.
Yeah, and it was like horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Or like when Jackie Chan was in that one movie and he was kind of a bad guy or like was more serious. It was like, dude, this is horrifying.
Yeah.
Are you like looking through his IMDb?
Yeah. He's in.
You're like, what's this Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Like, he's like, die.
Yeah, he's great in this, and seeing him as a little kid, I was like horrified.
Yeah. There's something also like unnatural about the way he looks in the film, because of course it turns out later in the film what is unveiled. But
he definitely has the big teeth, like the fake teeth.
The big teeth, like the caked on kind of like he's very like pale kind of looking in this to a degree, and it's just very. He looks like what I would think of like an old school vampire hunter or witch hunter, like very like a Protestant kind of like, I don't know, like pilgrim kind of dude. You know what I mean? Wearing like
he was in Baby Geniuses as Heap.
That's what heap of shit. So he pulls out the dip for the first time, and
I told you that messed me up as a kid, like seeing a cartoon like be horrifyingly killed slowly. Yeah,
and it's like screaming.
Yeah,
and it's a mixture of turpentine, acetone, and benzene, which all of them are paint thinners.
Oh, he was in Dennis the Menace as the villain. Remember,
dude? Holy shit! How could I forget?
I know
that movie is fucking hilarious. I feel like that's a
like
movie we need to talk about at some point. But like, what you eating there, kid? Apple. Oh my god! Yeah, that movie is so ridiculous. He's like, anyway,
he's in the Dream Team. Your favorite, Michael
Team?
Keaton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare that. He was in Star Trek 3 as the villain in that. Remember?
Oh yeah, he's like
Commander Krug.
Yeah,
he kills Kirk's son. He's like, "See ya, peace."
It's Kirk's son.
Yeah, he's been a villain a few times.
Kirk, Tom Cruise, Heidecker Jr. I don't know why his first name would be Kirk. Not. Anyway, so the interactions between like Bob Hoskins and like, I guess I would say like Charles Fleischer, because he's like the animated voice of Roger Rabbit, and he was always on set.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I watched the behind the scenes stuff, and he's like,
dressed up
wearing a rabbit costume, just off camera doing all his lines.
Which is like, today he would just a person would they probably wouldn't even let someone do that. They would just be like, just come in and do your lines later, even if they wanted to. But
it's a good commitment on his part.
It was nice because it gave like him something to kind of work off of. I feel like Bob Hoskins, it's like, and everyone else, it's like, yeah, like you said, it's like the commitment is real.
Mm-hmm. So I saw this movie in theaters, and then I don't think I've seen it since until like just recently.
Oh, really?
So I think I'm more familiar with the game, the NES game, than the actual movie, because like I remember renting that a bunch of times back in the day, and like after watching the AVGN episode on it, like I realized I never would have been able to beat that game. Like it's impossible.
It's funny because we talked about Dick Tracy on another episode, and that's another game that's exactly like very similar to the Roger Rabbit game, where it's
You have
like,
no chance. It's so hard.
There's no way in hell.
Yeah.
And it's also like AVG uncovered that one too.
Did you ever play that game, the Roger Rabbit one?
I think I might have rented it, but it was like one of those deals where like you rent it and you find out within the first 5 seconds you're fucked. Like it's like that in the Ghostbusters game and the Turtles game, and it's like all these franchises that like you loved as a kid, and like all the games are impossible.
It's like it's the weekend. You're allowed to rent one game, and within 5 seconds you're like, I blew it.
Yeah, you're fucked essentially.
It happens so many times.
Yeah, you're playing whatever you have at home, or there was no internet, so you're just fucked. It's like, okay. You might be lucky and there'd be like a game you could play on your PC or another game you liked, because you really couldn't download a game because there was no internet. So it was like, and even if there was, it was like slower than fuck. I remember one time we wanted to download a fucking movie trailer, and we went to Blockbuster and came back like 30 minutes later and it still was downloaded. So
good times.
Yeah. So that's how fucking old we are. So the weasels show up and they blast the lock off with a machine gun, and I was like, Jesus, I forgot how overkill some of this shit is. Like, so what if like someone had been standing behind that door when that happened? Like
they could have been killed.
That would have been a fucking murder.
Yeah.
And like,
do you think the weasels would have cared? I don't.
Well, the thing is, like, they make a big deal about a toon killing a person, but that could have been another.
That's true.
Murder.
That's also true.
We already talked about the live action and as being seamless with like the animated stuff. So
you can just tell they put so much time and care into it. Like,
yeah,
that's what makes
all the behind the scenes stuff. And this is like, yeah. I was gonna have. I mean, if I wanted to go super in depth with this, I would have like fucking probably 500 pages of notes. But like that, just watch all if you want. Watch the movie and watch the behind the scenes stuff. Like anything I say isn't gonna do justice. Essentially, at this point, I'm just kind of like going through stuff I noticed, because like our interaction with the film is definitely like different than everyone else's, but it could also line up. So we've got I had to look this up because I didn't know what the fucking names of the weasels were. They never really say them and who played them, but they're Smarty, Greasy, Psycho, Wheezy, and Stupid. I think at one point
Stupid.
Smarty was actually called Smart Ass. But like David Lander played like the main one, which I could have sworn that the guy that played like the main one was like the dude from Laverne and Shirley. Like one of the like Ziggy or whatever not Ziggy but Squiggy. Charles Fleischer does like triple duty, probably more than that in this film, as Roger Rabbit, and then two of the weasels. And then we've got June Foray, Corin Orr, and then Fred Newman. And there's a couple other, I'm sure we'll get to it, but there's other people that are involved in this, a lot of other people, but it's just so funny how like apparently like when this movie came out too, I read that like this had like the longest credits of any film, because you've got archival voice action, we've got live action voice actors, we've got voice actors, and then all of the people that worked on the effects. It's like,
it's basically
Star
like
Wars style.
A live action movie and an animated movie,
right? So
like double the crew to work on it.
Yeah, everybody in the posse, everybody in the crew. It's like
this is what they do.
Do long fucking credits for everybody in the movie. So this was always one of the classic bits of this film for me, at least, was so at one point in the movie during this, he handcuffs himself to Bob Hoskins, and they have to go, and he's like, I don't have any keys for those cuffs. We didn't say it like that, but they go to like the bar, which is across the street, and he starts sawing it off. And he's like, stop moving. And he's like, takes his arm out of the thing and like holds the thing.
That's a classic Bugs Bunny type joke. So
and he's like, you mean you could have taken your hand out of that cuff at any time? No, not at any time. Only when it was funny. And I'm like, dude, this is this is why this movie's like so funny and so good. But I honestly didn't know Bob Hoskins wasn't English
I didn't
for
either.
the longest
Me
time
too.
because I'd
Then
seen
your
him
mind was
in
blown.
this. I'd seen him in Super Mario Brothers movie. I'd seen him in Hook. Actually, wait, was he English in Hook? Maybe he
I don't
was.
remember.
But he was doing, I don't know, because when you hear
Hook.
his regular voice, it's like when I recently saw Xena in a thing with Bruce Campbell, and she's from like New Zealand, and I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? This whole time? Because even back in the day when she would do junkets and other stuff, like she wouldn't, you know, I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to keep up appearances, but it was like now it's like that's the thing. It's like now it's actually better if you're from another country because like all these people that are playing like Superman's from Britain, like you know all these different people. It's like you know
the dude from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Andrew Lincoln.
Yeah.
It's like if you're from another country, like if you're from London or like somewhere else. I guess London's not a country, but I mean like from you know what I mean. If you're from not America, you're probably going to have a better chance of being the leading person in a movie or series.
Yeah, I didn't learn he was British until I saw that movie Unleashed with Jet Li.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that's the first time I knew it too because he keeps him as a fucking like, you know.
He's a horrible
He's
villain.
He's like a little bastard.
Yeah.
He puts him in like a fucking cage and he treats like Jet Li like a fucking like
a dog.
Mini-me or something.
I always knew he was one of your favorite actors.
Yeah.
But he just won an Oscar like while he was making this movie for a movie called Mona Lisa, which is okay. But he's in this movie, The Long Good Friday. Mm-hmm. Dude, it's so good. He plays like a mob boss in the middle of like a mob war. But the very end of the movie, he basically loses and he gets captured by the other gang, and he's in the back of a car like, and they're taking him to basically kill him. And the final shot of the movie is just a close up of his face, and he's like realizing, and like. His acting in that moment is like more thrilling than like 10 Marvel movies.
Yeah.
It's like,
he's like
so good. He's like, ding,
he's like giving a thumbs up as they're putting a fucking noose around his neck. He's like,
he's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the big like regrets I've had in my life is I'll never be able to meet Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, he died way too young,
and I'll never be able to meet Joseph Pilato. So. In his fucking sweaty glory. There's other people, you know, too, that I would like to meet, or at least, you know, would have liked to have gotten an autograph from. But like you said, he died very young, and Joseph Pilato is the same way. It's like, you know, yeah, it's a shame. But always been a fan, always will be a fan. So, this is another thing that I never really noticed until now, and I don't really know. I could be reading too much into this. So, you know, Eddie Valiant, Bob Hoskins goes back to his office, and we see Jessica Rabbit walking into his office, and you hear a toilet flush, and he like walks out of his bathroom with no shirt on. But for some reason, he's got his tie on. So I'm assuming he just like took a huge fat shit or something. But like, why did he have his shirt off? Like, why is he putting on his tie before his shirt?
They talked about that in the deleted scenes, or there was a deleted scene in there that explained like why he didn't have a shirt on. I don't remember exactly why, but it was basically a deleted scene, and I think they inserted the toilet flush just as a like joke. Thought it would be funny.
But like, he's like a hairy beast, like he's like Austin Powers style over here. But I always thought that was weird, and I guess I must have just missed that. Like, but it was like. It's like, Kay? Is he taking a huge shit? He's like, I gotta go back to the office, but he just wanted to go back to take like a private shit. So we get back to the bar and like, wait, what? Go back to the bar. Judge Doom falls, and he's gonna give a reward. What the fuck is this note? Essentially. When we get back to the thing, he's like, I'm going to give it a reward, and he wipes like, they have a French dip thing, like, special on the board, and he wipes off everything but, like, dip, so I'm like, was that, like, intentional?
I didn't notice that.
But,
it probably was, though.
It could be. But then he does the shave and haircut 2 bits thing, and then Roger, like, jumps out of the fucking wall. But just that whole thing where they actually blast a hole in a wall and they animate him out, it's like, dude. Like you said, it would have been like, I don't know. I feel like we should just be like, the whole episode is going to be us like, oh, today that would have been CG. Right. Like, that's the whole episode.
But it's the truth.
Yeah. I thought this was like so cool, and I still think it's like, how the hell did they do this? Where, I mean, I'm sure I have an idea of how they did this, but like, Bob Hoskins is in this like cartoon cab, like Benny the cab or whatever.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And it's like, it doesn't look fucking fake.
The behind the scenes stuff on that is pretty wild because he's basically on like a little go-kart that's being driven remotely. So he's basically just like holding on for dear life, but it looks like that had to have been terrifying.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There are parts where you see stuff happening and he's like, his face is like, you're like,
it looked really scary.
Yeah. But I'm glad you watched that. Did you watch it recently? Like,
yeah.
Okay, that's good. I was going to, but then I was like, I don't know how. I was going to try to remember stuff, but I'm glad that you did that because I have other notes and stuff, and you kind of fill it in the blanks. This is a part that I guess was, I don't know. So I'll just go ahead and explain this. RK Maroon holds up Eddie with a gun, and he gets seltzer sprayed in his face, and before he even hits the ground, Eddie somehow has RK Maroon's own gun in his hand. I don't know how the fuck that happened.
He's that good.
He's just, I was like...
But I always like when people get hit by seltzer, but they don't move out of the way, they just sit there and take it. And he's like,
not only that, but they have a gun and they don't fire. I was like, what?
It was hilarious.
Bob Hoskins does a combat role. Actually, Eddie Valiant does a combat role. I don't think Bob Hoskins did the combat role. I think that was probably his stunt double. Speaking of which, later in the movie, he does like backflips and shit. And I'm like, this is like Austin Powers style. I mean, it was obvious, it was badass, but it wasn't fucking Bob Hoskins. Or was it? It wasn't. Was it? Also, the guy had a golden gun, like RK Maroon, which I kind of want to go on like a little tangent here with golden guns for like the James Bond golden gun.
Scaramanga.
Where they say like, why the fuck does it matter if it's a golden bullet?
You've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Like, that really bothers you.
Well, to me, I don't even know what I've talked about before. I know I have them. It's like, it's not like poison. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a bullet, regardless.
He's just throwing money down the drain.
Yeah, like, he's charging people extra.
Lead is more deadly than gold.
$1 million a shot to kill someone. Like, yeah. It just doesn't make any sense because, like, also gold isn't a very strong material to use as a bullet. It would, like,
probably fall apart.
Yeah.
Like, disintegrate.
Right. Not only that, yeah, like, just because it's a more precious metal, like...
Maybe it was gold plated.
Maybe if it was a diamond bullet. But...
The man with the diamond gun.
Ah. But, yeah, regardless, that's neither here nor there. That's a aesthetic thing for this movie. What
do you think about Nicolas Cage had golden guns in Face Off?
It's like he didn't say he could kill people instantly because he had golden guns.
And he didn't have golden bullets.
Yeah. So, you know, that's just cool aesthetic like this movie, but it's not like, you know, it's not the fact that I'm a great marksman that I will kill this man. It's I've got a golden gun with golden bullets.
But you're leaving out one part. Love is required whenever he's hired.
For who? Like what? For his victim?
He comes just before the kill.
He's like, ah! He's like the guy in with Jessica Rabbit. He's like some other men do.
We could probably talk about the song of Man with the Golden Gun for like 10 hours. It's so weird.
That's one I want to do eventually, and I'm sure we'll have an extended...
It's not one of the better movies.
Shitting. I mean, it's good because, like, Christopher Lee's in it, but there are worse Bond movies, and there are better ones, that's for sure. But it's, yeah.
He has a third nipple.
The one where James Bond has a third ball. Fucking, Which one is that? The
On Her Majesty's
yeah,
Secret
with
Service.
the one dude that plays Blofeld for like one movie.
Telly Savalas.
And he has like the whole thing is the fucking earlobes. I'm like, God, fucking shit. Ski Resort the movie.
It's true.
Yeah, it's like, so he's a fucking freak. Like, that wouldn't make you more potent.
Actually, I thought he had 4, didn't he?
That's why it's so ambiguous. It's like, okay, so
let's not think about it.
It's a fuck ton of balls. Like, that doesn't mean he's better at having sex.
It makes him twice the man.
He has a gold bullet. That means he's twice as deadly. Like, why would it matter if he was twice as deadly? Because being 1 times as deadly is still deadly. I'm extra gonna kill you. It's like, maybe it's like, what's it called? The last one we watched, Out for Justice, where he gets a corkscrew in his head and then he gets shot a bunch.
That's Steven Seagal main villains for you.
It's like
overkill.
Fucking Rasputin, shot, stabbed, poisoned, fucking hung. It's like,
dude, in Under Siege, Tommy Lee Jones gets his eyes gouged out, a knife through his skull, and then he slams him into like an electrical panel and electrocutes him.
It's like the guy was dead on arrival. It's like, why? Oh my God. He's extra deadly. So many. I have a note here that says there were like, it's so cool seeing all these like great old in the war California locations, which obviously like they're still intact from the 40s. So it was cool. It's just like also like the whole thing where they look down the alley, or not the alley, but the street where like the bar and Eddie's thing is, like his office, and it's all like 40s. Like you can, it's like and it's like either that was like a backlot that they made, and if so, that's impressive as hell, or I don't know, was it a street they found that still looked like that, or, and if so, that's even more impressive, kind of, because they had to shut down a fucking street.
Yeah.
It was just like, and none of it was fake, so I was like, holy shit.
I mean, we've been talking about it, but I think that's why we enjoy movies like this more than like a CGI fest, because the effort is like right up on the screen, and like it's a spectacle. Like it took time and effort to make that.
It's a spectacle, just like WrestleMania. Actually, it's not. Yeah, for sure. So, I always thought this was interesting. I mean, there's so much about it. I just say this all the time. It's very interesting, but Eddie Valiant has a cartoon gun in a box that was given to him by Yosemite Sam. In the description says, "Thanks for getting me out of the Who Scout." We've got cartoon bullets here, voiced by Jim Cummings, Pat Buttram, and Jim Gallant, which I think a lot of these people were like Disney alumni, essentially, embedded in a bunch of other Disney stuff, because you can kind of tell like the voices, you know what I mean? I always thought this part was a little weird though, because like he takes so fucking long. He essentially parks, gets the gun out and shit, and is still able to like catch up to who he's looking to get. But they kind of like make it so he's able to. It's not like, impossible. Let's see here. I don't know why I wrote this down, because like it's a fucking cartoon essentially land, and I put Bob Hoskins able to hold onto a flagpole with his pinky. That makes sense, and I'm like, well, this whole thing's like,
it's very cartoonish.
Yeah. So for Zero, I guess Judge Doom tries to like kill him, and they're like talking, and then he like is running off, and he says, "That's right, you'll never stop me, you're dead, you're both dead," and he's like running away, and his arms are like Mr. McMahon, like fucking flopping all over the place. But it was it was funny to me that like he was yelling that he was gonna fucking kill
threatening someone while running away. Yeah.
What'd you think about like the carnival masks in the Acme factory. I don't know if you noticed those.
I don't think so.
Like, that was something that I kind of noticed for the first time this time, because as he's, like, coming down, like, the thing, they're, like, right there. And I'm like, those are pretty fucking horrifying looking.
Yeah, I'm sure there's all kinds of little details like that. It's filled with details.
Car driving a car.
That was funny. Nice touch.
Oh, nice touch. I don't know if you like this part, but Judge Doom must have been the grandfather to Richie, because he tells him, put Roger and Jessica on the fucking hook. He doesn't say fucking.
He's going to cut him a new ass.
He's going to cut him a new ass. It's like, so all the weasels, like, laughed themselves to death, and I always thought this was, like, something that was, you know, like, holy shit, like, when I was a kid and stuff, like, it was kind of, like, a little horrifying. But then...
It's funny, though. Like, I always love when a cartoon ghost, like, comes, leaves the body.
I thought about it, like, they talk about how, like, I guess they had cousins that died that were hyenas that died laughing. And so my thing is, like, can cartoons all die if they laugh for a certain amount of time without stop laughing? Because if that's the case, it'd be like if your job was to play Russian roulette every day, because they are in a field that, like, makes other people laugh. So maybe they just don't find their own shit funny.
That's the kind of question that needs to be asked.
Now this is wonderful. I think we're coming to the part where the Austin Powers steamroller shows up here.
Yeah. If I have one nitpick about this movie, I think the ending goes on a little bit long. Mm-hmm. Probably could have trimmed it up a little bit. But that's really my only... Like, by the time it's wrapping up, I'm like, all right, let's get it wrapped up. But that's a very minor nitpick. That's really the only negative thing I can say about this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had an issue with that, but, I mean...
just seems like it takes them a long time to, you know, figure out how they're spraying a lot of the stuff. Mm-hmm. It just goes on a little bit long for my taste. But
incorrect. Your taste is correct.
It's a fact.
It's a fact that you're incorrect. It's like, wait, what? I don't know if that's something I would ever have thought about, that anybody would have a complaint about, but at the same time, like, there's been other movies we've watched that, like, you know, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of, like, another movie we've watched that I've had an issue with, like, as far as, like, length goes, that I'm like...
Yeah, it just goes on, like, you know what's going to happen, basically.
Right.
It just takes a bit long to play out, so... But it was seeing him... It was cool
seeing him.
It was cool to see him get run over by a steamroller.
I was seeing him. Yeah, they definitely go through, like, the cartoon kind of thing, where there's, like, multiple things that are happening, like a sword fight that doesn't really happen, like a magnet and all this other shit, and all this is kind of like Indiana Jones style, where there's, like, or James Bond, where there's, like, something that they have to stop before it's too late. So it's kind of like that, where it's essentially the exact same thing, where it's like
the ticking clock.
Yeah. Which I think it's exactly the same as all those, where it's like, it can definitely come off sometimes as, like, okay, like you were saying. But, like, when he goes full, like, unveiling himself, it's, like, definitely, like, horrifying, because then it's like, okay, so this guy's, like, essentially, like, a superhero, but he's, like, a bad guy. And that's, like, horrifying. I think that's probably one of the most horrifying things, is, like, if Superman was, like, a bad guy, because you can't do shit to him. Obviously, in this, it's a little different, because there is, like, you know, obviously, there is something that fucks him up. But it's just, like, Eddie, like, in a fight, has no chance against, like, a toon. Yeah. Because they can't even really be killed.
I do like that they pushed to, like, make him a very scary character. Like, back in the 80s, like, they didn't care about scaring kids. You know, they would just push stuff.
I
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. I would say his
then Tim Burton messed it up with Batman Returns. He went a little too far.
That wasn't
Ruined
like
it for everyone.
scary. I mean, it was, but it was more so just gross. It was like, this is just disgusting. This isn't. It's like, okay. But like him being run over with a steamroller is probably the most ridiculous performance of anyone of all time. But it's hilarious. But obviously, when you're watching it the first time, you don't think it's hilarious. You're like, holy fuck, this guy's being murdered. But then like when he gets flattened and he like stands up. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, I still, like, since it's, like, a prop, it's, like, it's pretty fucked up. You know
it's
what
cool
I mean?
looking.
It's, like, scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, his performance is only passed up by when he's being melted by the dip. And he's like, woo! Woo! And I'm like, Jesus! This part... This is another thing I didn't notice till now, but I thought was pretty funny. So they've got all the toons in here that, like, you know, Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Goofy, Pinocchio, Big Bad Wolf, Woody Woodpecker, and Sylvester. And we're going to go through what they say here just in order. Mickey Mouse says, gosh, I wonder who he really was, because they're, like, looking at his remains here. And Bugs Bunny says, I'll tell you one thing, Doc. He weren't no rabbit, or a duck, or a dog, or a little wooden boy, or a sheep, or a woodpecker. And Sylvester says, or a pussy. And I was like, obviously, back then, you know, but at the time, I was like, what the fuck, did he say that? And then I was like, oh, yeah. But, of course, when these cartoons came out, like, that's what they were like, oh, come here, puss, like, to a cat. And it's like, okay. So... What?
Another?
What? No, you're what? So...
You said it all.
Yeah. I'm like, puss, and you're like... We already talked about, like, the equal screen time kind of thing. I got some trivia that was kind of funny here. Actually, I'm going to do the funnily worded trivia, because this stuff is, like... It's, like, the same shit that, like, we found on here that's, like, what? Apparently, Tim Curry auditioned for the role of Judge Doom. Robert Zemeckis,
oh, he would have been good.
Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and Michael Eisner found his performance quite terrifying. I was like, what? Robert Zemeckis recounts that he had stated in a newspaper interview that Bill Murray was his and his executive producer Steven Spielberg's original choice for the role of Eddie Valiant, but neither could get in contact with him in time. Murray, in return, has stated when he read the interview, he was in a public place, but he still screamed his lungs out because he would have definitely accepted the role.
He screamed his lungs out? He's like,
I thought that was so stupid, like the way it was worded. It's like, these are like, who's writing
the
these?
IMDb trivia is pure garbage.
During filming, Charles Fleischer delivered Roger Rabbit's lines off camera in full Roger costume, which we talked about. During breaks, when he was in costume, other staff at the studio would see him and make comments about the poor caliber of the effects in the Rabbit movie. I was like, what?
That was definitely worth writing.
Yeah, I was like, this was kind of interesting, though, which, well, maybe it wasn't interesting, I don't know. In both this movie and Back to the Future Part 2, the River Road Tunnel is used. Funnily enough, Christopher Lloyd waits outside the tunnel just before a car crash in both films. That's like that shit they did in, what was that one film where, it was Executive Decision, where I had that trivia where it was like, he sings Danny Boy. In Karate Kid Part 3, Silver calls him Danny Boy. And it's like the ridiculous shit they had.
All I can do is shake my head.
For, dude, the trivia for, what's it called? Out for Justice was so stupid. Yeah, fucking Steven Spielberg shit his pants. Steven Seagal.
When the light went out, he was moved to tears.
He's like, it's like, why? Yeah, so, okay, so what did you think? Pure shit.
It's a great movie, classic. Everyone should see it.
Yeah. It's 100% classic.
Yeah.
So I guess what would you grade it? Did we give a grade last week? I think we did.
We did, because I won 9.95.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I have to go 9.95 for Roger Rabbit.
Holy shit! It's great. It's our other movie that we both gave 9.95.
Nice. I'd give it a 9. I'd give it a 9.95.
If we went above 9.95, I would. But
cool.
There's no reason to do that when 9.95 is the excellence of execution.
Mm-hmm.
So next week is Mike Week. And for Weird Watches, we're going to watch Demon Slayer, which I have already set up.
What's that?
I don't know too much about it other than it got all this praise. For
it's a CW show.
It's a cock wiener show. It's an animated thing, but it's supposed to be really, like, it's got, like, a lot of praise and stuff like that for being, like, really violent, kind of, maybe. But it's also, like, I don't know. I've just heard good stuff about it, but It's, like, yeah, some kid has to, I guess, save his family or some shit.
Let's
maybe.
check it out.
And then for the feature presentation, we're going to watch First Blood.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which I've never seen any.
What?
Yeah, I've never seen any of the Rambo films besides the one I saw in theaters. So this is one that I've kind of wanted to see for a while. It's kind of like years ago, I had never seen Rocky before, and were all on Netflix. So First Blood, or as most people I think now call it, just Rocky. Or
Rocky 1, First Blood.
Rambo, essentially. Cause,
Rambo 1.
Yeah, because what... Rambo, it's Rambo 2 First Blood, or what is it?
Rambo First
Blood Part 2. So really people just say fuck all this shit and they just call it Rambo 1, 2, and 3?
And 4 and 5.
Which one's 4? That one
4 is just Rambo, and then 5 is John Rambo. That's the worst title
Which
series
ones did
of all
we
time.
see? Like, we saw
Rambo.
Yeah. The one where he's back in wherever the fuck he's at. And then, like I haven't seen the newest one.
Not great.
Yeah, it looked pretty shit. It was like...
no, it's called Last Blood. Which is actually a pretty good title.
Last Bullshit. Actually, First Bullshit. So...
nice pick, man.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites. I think...
we'll see.
I hope you like it. I think you will.
If not...
Only one way to find out.
It's your fault that I picked it.
You blew it.
So, this is the Buddy Shots podcast, and as every week, we will have the podcast up Monday on Steakbill164 on YouTube, and check us out on all the other social medias like Twitter and Instagram. And do you have any other things to say to our buddies?
I think we nailed it once again. Another perfect podcast. No mistakes.
You always say that, and I think you're always right.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think.
I know I'm right.
I know. Oh, you know now. I see how it is. Okay, so I'll say goodbye to everybody for the first and last time. I hope nothing happens.
I hope nothing happens.
So I'll go ahead and let you have the last word.
Bye.
Keep it jumping, keep it pumping.